I just haven't. She's
Okay,
in
same
electioneering
thing,
right
same
outside the
thing,
door.
okay. Well, and unfortunately, it's 100 feet. People aren't used to people standing there.
Oh, yeah. But if it's right out the door,
Right.
that's
We're
a
lucky.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the State Board of Elections meeting on November 8th at 1 p.m. We are in a special meeting for Election Day. We gaveled in this morning at 6 and we've been these will be in session until the polls are closed. I'm Michael Adams, the Secretary of State and Chair of the State Board of Elections. And I think I have the privilege now of presiding over my first fully in-person State Board of Elections meeting since COVID-19. I think I see everybody here. So instead of looking at this screen over here and calling the roll, I'll just turn to Mr. Skolnick and let you take it on.
Hello, everyone. Corey Skolnick, member Jefferson County.
Hello, everyone. Dwight Sears, member Pulaski County. Ben Chandler, member Woodford County.
James Lewis, retired county clerk, Leicester County member.
Lynn Lane, retired county clerk from Ballard County, member.
J. Michael Brown, member Jefferson County.
Jerry Johnson, member Franklin County.
Deanna Frangers, member Jefferson County.
Thank you all for being here today. We have a number of things to do, fairly technical in nature, but very important. First, we need to approve the draft minutes of our September 20th and October 18th meetings. Do we have a motion? So moved by member Lewis. Is there a second? Member Sears with the second. All in favor? Oh, first, does anyone have any changes to the drafts? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Oh,
Not
sorry.
opposed, but I need to register an abstention because I did not participate in the October meeting.
Duly noted. Thank you. So we have a list of approvals and ratifications to go through. I'll turn over to Karen for that. You take us away, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first we have, we need to ratify 3 counties, members of the County Board of Elections. The first one is Wolfe County. We need to ratify a Democrat and a Republican member. Their Republican and Democrat member resigned. We have received all the proper paperwork to appoint a new Democrat and Republican representative for Wolfe County. And I would ask for ratification for the Wolfe County Board of Elections. Edmonson County, they have requested a temporary Republican replacement that we would like to ratify due to illness. Well, actually, it's not illness. I believe that's the one where the wife went into labor. And so we have all the proper paperwork and have appointed a temporary Republican representative to serve on that board until the current member can return. The third one is in Martin County. This one is due to illness. The Democrat member had to step down temporarily, and we need to ratify a new member to that board. We have all the proper paperwork. We receive a list of 5 and take the first person on the list in Martin County. It is Curl C. Fitch. In up here in Wolfe County, we have the resignation on file. The Democrat member is Danny Dale, and the Republican member is Bernice Wiseman for Wolfe County. And then in Edmondson, the replacement, temporary replacement is Stephanie Gibson. And I would ask the board for either all together, or if you choose to do separately, the ratification of the 3 counties, either temporary replacement for.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Member Rangers, second. Member Johnson, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right. approval or ratification of additional precinct officers pursuant to KRS 117/456 and 31 KAR 4:120.
Okay, so here we have counties that have requested additional precinct officers at locations. And I will read the counties who have made this additional precinct officer request. We have Nicholas County has requested 1 officer for 3 precincts. Mercer County is requesting an additional officer for 1 precinct. Lewis County is requesting 2 officers for 1 precinct. Muhlenberg County is requesting 1 officer for 18 precincts. Lawrence County is requesting 1 officer for 6 precincts, 2 officers for 4 precincts. And McCreary is requesting 1 officer for 1 precinct, 2 officers for 1 precinct, 3 officers for 2 of their precincts, and 4 officers for 4 precincts. In Leslie County, they are requesting 1 officer for 4 precincts. These are all for ratification by the board. Often we do get requests for additional officers, and I would ask the board for approval of these requests from the counties for additional officers.
We have a motion to ratify.
So moved.
Member Lewis, we have a second.
Second.
Member Grangers, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay. And now, approval or ratification of emergency precinct officers pursuant to KRS 117/045 subsection 5.
We have received a number of emergency requests this last few days. There's been quite a bit of illness going around. The counties have struggled somewhat to find replacements. They had alternates. They worked very hard. I have to compliment them. I know they were stressed and were able to find replacements and or bring in their alternates for emergency precinct officers. So I will read the counties, and there is quite a few counties this time that have had to do this. So we have Lewis County. They are 1 officer for 2 precincts. Muhlenberg County, 1 officer for 7 precincts, 2 officers for 2 precincts. Monroe County, 1 officer for 6 precincts, 2 officers for 2 precincts, and 3 officers for 1 precinct. Monroe County again, 1 officer for 3 precincts. Trimble County, 1 officer for 2 precincts. Bracken, 1 officer for 1 precinct and 2 officers for 1 precinct. Hancock, 1 officer for 4 precincts, 2 officers for 3 precincts. Lewis County, 1 officer for 2 precincts, 2 officers for 1 precinct. Nicholas County, 1 officer for 1 precinct. Prairie, 2 officers for 1 precinct. Clark, 1 officer for 2 precincts. Crittenden, 1 officer for 1 precinct. Nicholas, 1 officer for 1 precinct, which I believe that was a second. Metcalf, 1 officer for 1 precinct. Adair, 1 officer for 1 precinct. Breathitt, 1 officer for 2 precincts, 2 officers for 1 precinct. McGoffin, 1 officer for 1 precinct, another officer for another precinct in McGoffin. Metcalf, 1 officer for 1 precinct, and in Leslie, 1 officer for 1 precinct, or for 11 precincts, excuse me. And I want to thank all of these precinct officers and election officers that stepped up to help their counties. Much of this was done in the last 24 to 48 hours. So we have a significant number of people that have stepped up to help their counties, and I just want to compliment those people, all the poll workers that are using their time today to help with the elections, plus the county clerks who work so hard to make sure they have adequate coverage of their precincts. So I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, we have a motion.
So moved.
Member Johnson, we have a second.
Second.
Member Lane, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Ayes have it. Next, we have review of and vote on MOA for election security fund reimbursements. Counties to purchase voting equipment. I believe we have Green County, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So as we've done just about every meeting, the security grant that the State Board of Elections has been helping counties to purchase election equipment. Greene County today is presented. They have 10 precincts. They're eligible for 25,000 in reimbursement. And they're requesting 25,000. They have submitted the appropriate paperwork. And I believe we're probably using the machine.
hope so.
But I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion? Okay. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Moving right along, we are ready for a report from our executive director.
Well, not a lot to report, except it's a very busy day at State Board of Elections. I'm sure it's busy at the Secretary of State's office and of course all of our county clerks. Extremely busy today conducting the elections in their counties. We have not seen anything that isn't moving smoothly today. We here to take calls. We want to make sure the Secretary of State's office is taking calls, the Attorney General. We're working closely with all agencies to ensure that the election is conducted fairly, safely, secure, and everyone feels comfortable. I do want to say that I believe we've had a pretty high turnout today. And the voters, I believe there are some lines in many of the counties. We appreciate any patience that you're having to encounter to cast your ballot today, but it's very important that everyone cast their ballot today if they can possibly wait. And I know that the clerks are doing their best to push people through and ensure everyone has an opportunity to vote. Our election night reporting will go live at 6 p.m. this evening. The counties will be downloading their results. And we will do it as the counties submit those results to us. We will be putting it on our website. It will be on our landing page, elect.ky.gov. I do want to mention that as well on the landing page, we have, for those that are interested, we have the numbers from absentee numbers of county. Who has requested an absentee, the absentees that have been returned, just numbers. We have the early voting days, those numbers are there, and then the 6 days that fell between that were excused absentee, those numbers are also available, so it's publicly out on our website just below where you would see election night reporting, and you can click if you're interested to see the number of people that have voted up to election morning on 6 a.m. Just want to make sure everybody gets out to vote.
I'll just add to that, the polls are open until 6 o'clock today. That's universal statewide. You also have to have your absentee ballot back to us if you're voting by absentee ballot. It's too late to mail it, but you can bring it back to the drop box. We've got drop boxes with every county clerk and many of the voting locations themselves. We have to have it in hand at 6 o'clock to count it with all the other ballots, so make sure you get those back to us. I think we've got about 11,000 out of about 82,000 that are still outstanding. I'm sure we'll get a lot in today, but make sure you get those to us in the drop box by 6 o'clock.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So we need to confirm our next meeting date so that we can certify vote totals and issue certificates to the winners. Does anyone have a suggestion?
We did look at that a little bit. We know, the holidays are coming and I believe the results, we have Veterans Day, the end of this week. So I believe your office will receive results by noon on Monday for certification. We were looking at possibly the first week. Well, it'd be Thanksgiving week, but that Monday or Tuesday, given an extra day or so because of the holiday, but pushed pushed it out. So we can, maybe before we adjourn this evening, we might be able to firm up a.
I'm gonna vote on that later tonight when everyone has a chance to check their
Right.
schedule. Okay,
But
so
that's,
you think the 21st-ish
Right.
is a good time? The deadline for us to do any recanvas is the 17th, so it has to be after the 17th. But then what's the deadline by statute, isn't it? 20th?
20th.
28th, I'm
28th,
sorry.
yes.
Oh, so we've got some time
Right.
other than the holiday.
yes.
Okay.
I had down tentatively for 10 a.m. on the 22nd.
Okay,
that
that
a
would
day
be a
that-
Tuesday.
Was that, I mean, that came from here somewhere. I don't know where it's.
And that would,
That's always been the third Tuesday, I would assume.
oh, that's the third Tuesday, which is our,
The 15th, the 13th.
oh,
Oh, it
15th
is,
is the
okay.
third Tuesday. So,
No, no.
the-
Oh, I
so
see.
the 21st or 22nd
Yeah.
would be that week of Thanksgiving. So, and then, of course, the 28th, and we have those 4 days of Thanksgiving, so we might try to do it. But we can check calendars and maybe before we adjourn this evening.
Okay, so we're for y'all. Okay, is there any other business? Hearing none,
I've got one. I don't know if anybody's planning on doing this at some other time in the meeting, but we have with us today George Russell. And George is, I think most of the people in this room know, was a longtime board member, a member of this board for how many years, George? 12 and a half years. I don't know that there are very many people who've ever served on the board longer than that. But George was also the executive director at one point in time, and knows as much or more about elections as just about anybody in this state. And George left us right after the COVID. He served through the COVID election, a very difficult COVID election. And we talked about this. We talked about this at the last meeting, I believe, that we were here, but we wanted to make sure we made a presentation to George for his service, which is indeed outstanding and special for the people who have served on this board and know something about elections in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. George, we're awfully glad to have you with us, and we, well, I, for one, am honored to have had the opportunity to serve with you.
Take 2 minutes.
of course, you have the floor.
I started when Secretary of State asked each county clerk to go to fiscal court and buy a fax machine. That was the technology in the 80s. And then we're lucky. The reason Kentucky is advanced, always up to date on election process, is Wendell Ford and Mitch McConnell, Rules Committee. Wendell Ford was chairman of the Rules Committee when Motor Voter passed. Mitch McConnell was chairman of the Rules Committee when Help America Vote Act passed. They based all their federal legislation on Kentucky. And the Southern Governors Conference is the most active of all the National Governors Association. And when Ford was governor, he went to a meeting and they talked about more people registered in their states than there were the population. Well, 5 states came home from that Southern Governors meeting: Kentucky, Louisiana, Virginia, South Carolina, and Delaware. And they formed the first statewide voter registration system. And that's how we got where we are today. And there's a lot of process that, and I'm just proud to be part of you all. And that's a little short history of where we are and why Kentucky is always up to date, is because those 2 senators controlled everything from the Rules Committee in Washington.
Well, and I might add to that, George, that there was somebody whispering in Senator Ford's ear at that time. And I just wonder who that might have been.
Well, the staff, both McCollum and Ford, they knew what the process was here. So they made all the other states adopt what Kentucky was already doing. And that's sort of a short history of the development of the whole process. So it's been very nice being a part of it.
Well, it's a great honor to present you with this award from all of us. This is a proclamation that we read into the record and we did our last meeting. We also have a nice little
Thank
thing
you.
for your desk as well. So thank you for being with us. You're always welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. This, okay, thank you.
Is there anything else on the agenda prior to our executive session? I think that there is. Okay, so we have a move into executive session to discuss pending litigation and security. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
So moved. Do we have a second? Second, member Brangers, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So when we come back from executive session, there won't be any other public business for us to do until we reconvene on the record at 7 p.m. We're not going to be voting on anything. We're not going to be doing anything. We're just going to be at ease, monitoring this election here at headquarters, and then we'll come back on the record for any remaining official business at 7 p.m. when the polls close. Thank you all for watching.